Whatever you do in the airplane, don't panic. Just build in some buffer time and let that, adrenaline get out of your system a little bit where you're not making any rash decisions. Because the worst thing you can do in the airplane is the wrong thing too fast. And I think I talked about this in last week's podcast of my least favorite maneuver is the emergency descent, because I feel like poor instruction methodology leads us to think that an emergency descent is something we do for every emergency. Maybe that's not intentional, but I feel like that's what a lot of pilots do, is they have an emergency and they just point the aircraft at the ground and I want to get on the ground as fast as possible, and they didn't do any analysis. They didn't analyze the situation appropriately. So that panicking during an emergency, it's something that I see a lot. These two videos, I think, really highlight how panicking during an emergency could lead to a bad outcome. And there's just hundreds of examples, unfortunately, out there of pilots panicking. And that's the purpose of scenario-based training, is to kind of inoculate our students from panicking. So when you give them an engine fire, they don't need to panic. They need to calmly, okay, let's remove the fuel source from the engine, which is the fuel. So let me turn the mixture off, turn the fuel selector off. Okay, now I'm a glider. That's not ideal, right? But that's also not a reason to panic. I'm a glider. If I'm up at a sufficient altitude, I can find somewhere to land safely. It's not a big deal. I'm analyzing the situation, take the appropriate action, run my checklists, remain calm. I still don't need to do an emergency descent and just careen towards the ground unless I can't get the fire out. Now, if I can't get the fire out, we've got a bigger problem, and I can escalate that until, okay, yeah, I do need to try to get into a steep descent and blow the fire out. You can tell it's a little bit of a soapbox of mine of don't panic. Whatever you do in the airplane, don't panic. That's not going to solve anything.